What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over the new exotic sidearm, the Forerunner, which is the Halo Combat Evolved pistol. And this thing is a special exotic sidearm, the first ever in Destiny. So in this video we'll be breaking down if it's good or not, first going over how to get the weapon in the first place, then finally going over two cool builds with the weapon. So first, how to get the weapon: you go to Xur and then new play space, and you'll have the quest ready for you. And the first step will be to collect 7 strange coins, and the way to get strange coins is from doing the new 6-player activity. I believe you get 1 strange coin per encounter in the activity, so you should get 3 per run, so roughly 2 runs to get that done. The next step will be doing 3-star horse bounties, which you can pick up from the horse in the player space next to Xur, and you can only do 1 at a time, and there are 3 weekly and 3 daily ones. And it has to be all done within a single run of the activity. If you don't get one of the 3 objectives done, it will completely reset your progress and you have to do it again. So make sure to do it all in one single run. After that, the next step will be purchasing the strange key from Xur, which is this in his inventory. And once you do that, you have to go through the portal behind him to the outside section of the area. And there'll be 2 things you have to pick up. And I'll show you right here in this gameplay where they are. I'm not going to commentate over all of it, but if you just follow along, it's pretty straightforward. The first thing you have to interact with is kind of finicky. You have to be like in the exactly right spot, looking at the right direction. It's kind of weird, but you'll eventually get it. Then the second one, there's a little jumping puzzle, which I cut a few times because I failed, because I didn't know what to expect. But once you're in that area, it's pretty straightforward. You just go up, and more up. Then it's just right there. So I'm going to let this footage play out. I'll be back at roughly 2 minutes and 50 seconds in the video for the exotic review. So now that you have the Forerunner, let's go and look at the perks on the weapon. It's exotic perk full stop, oversized sidearm with extended range, heavy caliber rounds, fires full auto with increased rate of fire, deals increased precision damage to unshielded targets. Then the secondary perk on it is Pace Yourself. Tapping the trigger gives this weapon less recoil and improved accuracy. Finally, this weapon does have a catalyst slot, which you can get from Xur. I believe it is going to be the rank 16 reward, which means you have to do all kinds of the new activity and as many Star Horse bounties as you can to rank that up. It might take quite a while, but that should be what the catalyst is. But we can already look at what it does in the API. So the perk would be the Rock. For several seconds after a final blow, you will more likely hold a reload button to consume part of your ammo reserves, converting your next thrown grenade into a fragmentation grenade, the Halo 1 frag grenade. So how does this weapon feel in the game in PvE? Well, honestly, it feels like a really heavy-hitting hand cannon with absolutely crazy range. It more or less has no damage drop-off, and when you're just tapping it, the accuracy is really good. And just like a sniper or something like that, it has a high crit modifier, so if you're hitting body shots, you're going to be doing almost no damage. So it's definitely a precision based weapon. And with the base reserves being 72 and it being a special weapon, you can use it for ad clear on lower tier enemies, but you will be running out of ammo very quickly. Where it does shine is, however, majors. This thing absolutely shreds majors at range. And we look at damage on Carl, it hits for 9763. Then look at the rate for the weapon with 1 mag and 2 mags, so 12 shots and 24 shots. 1 mag takes roughly like 3.5 seconds, somewhere in there. Then the 2 mags took 8.2 seconds. So the 1 mag DPS is almost 36,000, while the 2 mag is 28.5. So honestly, that's not great for a special weapon. There are way better specials, but honestly isn't that bad either. I want to compare it to the Ehroar's Vow. This is going to be the most similar weapon to the Forerunner in the game, where it's a special primary type weapon. So looking at damage of that on Carl with the Vow, it hits for 22,513. And looking rate of fire of 1 mag and 2 mags once again. This one's have a lot slower rate of fire. One mag was roughly 5.5 seconds. Then keep going for the two mags. This will be very long at over 12.3 seconds. So DPS is 38.9, then almost 33 for two mags, so a little bit higher than the Forerunner, but honestly they're very similar. And as we mentioned earlier in the video, the Forerunner holds 72 base reserves, and with double sidearm reserves it goes up to 86. So that means between 700,000 total damage and 840,000, which are very good for a special weapon and pretty respectable. So overall, is this weapon good and worth using? Well, I think it feels really good and absolutely shreds almost anything at range. It really shines for major ag clear, given the fact that it's hard hitting like a special weapon and has a lot of ammo. It's definitely one of the best weapons versus majors at range, and with how accurate it is when you're just tapping it, it feels very nice. But overall, it's just hard to imagine this being that useful compared to some of the other specials in the game. For example, this season, fusions, I mean, just throw on a fusion and they just absolutely shred, doing nearly 60 to 70,000 DPS. You have slugs that do, you know, roughly 50 to 60,000 DPS, along with 140 RPM snipers. So given the fact that it is in a special slot, it's just gonna be hard to really use this in multiple different situations. So to help it out, I made two cool builds. The first one being a Warlock with the chromatic fire, which now works for all 4 subclasses, including stasis. And this will help it for Ackler and make it so whenever we get a precision kill, they will then have a firefly explosion, and it will kind of help with that AoE Ackler and help you with your total ammo count. Then looking at our mods of choice, the first one will be surprise attack, which is when we're charger light and ready or reload our sidearm, it'll consume all the stacks of charger light and give us rounds of increased damage with our sidearm. So to become charger light, we're gonna have 2 different ways. The first one will be elemental charge, which is when we pick up an elemental well, we'll get 1 stack of charger light. If it's matching to our subclass, we'll get 2. So our way of making elemental wells will be explosive well maker. That way, whenever we get a precision kill and proc chromatic fire, it should spawn in an elemental well as long as we get 2 kills, I believe. Another way to become charger light with this build will be quick charge, which will allow us to become charger light with both our Forerunner along with whatever primary weapon we have in our energy slot. So I'm using the BR. You can also use the ICOS SMG. And our final mod will be supercharged to allow us to become charger light times 4. That way, when we convert the stacks of charger light, we'll get 20 of the overcharged rounds. Like I mentioned, I'm using the BR just to go with the Halo theme for this build. You could also use something like the ICOS SMG. Then in your heavy slot, use wherever you want. It doesn't really matter. Also with this build, I'm using Bottom Tree Dawnblade because I really like the subclass. You can use whatever subclass, whatever tree you want. They should all work with Explosive Wellmaker. So now with Surprise Attack, we hit 13,180 on Carl, which is going to be a 35% increase. And this will not stack with things like Well or Weapons of Light. But however, for just regular Ackler, with this build, you're going to be having those shots at all times. So you're always going to have that 35% buff, which will make it shred through majors even more. You're going to be one-shotting every red bar in the game. I don't think there's a single red bar that is going to survive one shot of this. And overall, it's a cool build. Now moving on to the Hunter build, which is extremely strong. We're going to start off with top tree tether, obviously the Forerunner. This time I'm using the ICOS SMG, which will be more important than the previous build. Then once again, whatever heavy of choice. And the exotic armor piece will be the Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves, but unfortunately they got disabled due to a bug last night. So I was testing this build last night, should have recorded some gameplay with it, then I woke up and they were disabled. But we're going to be using them for the double damage for our sidearm. And just like the previous build, we have so charge to become charger light with our ICOS SMG or Forerunner. Then we also have stacks on stacks, that way every time that happens we get ×2. Then once again, just like the previous build, we have supercharged to get ×4 charger light to get 20 charge magazine shots. We also have surprise attack to get that 35% buff, which will stack with the Mechaneer's Trick Sleeves. And finally, we have global reach on our gauntlets. So the way this build works is you just go around with your ICOS SMG for Ackler, which will create the Warmind cells, which are obviously extremely good. Then whenever you get up to a major or a higher health target, you pull out your Forerunner, which will ready the charged magazine shots, and you just absolutely shred them. And if you do this while red bar, you also get 2x damage on top of that, which is absolutely insane. So for something like a boss, you could personally become red bar, tether them, then pull out your Forerunner, which will then proc the 2x damage of the Trick Sleeves, along with the 35% of the surprise attack. And once that is all re-enabled, the DPS would be over 125,000, and then over 2 mags, still 100,000. So for a special weapon, that is obviously extremely good. So yeah, those are my 2 builds I made with this weapon to make it a little bit more usable. Overall, it's a very fun weapon, feels extremely good. I just don't see long-term how useful it would be in a lot of different situations, because of the fact that you're gonna have to take it over, you know, a fusion this season, or in future seasons take it over a slug shotgun, a normal shotgun, sniper, whatever it is. And yeah, I think that's all I gotta say about this weapon. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. The rest of the video will just be some straight gameplay with the Warlock build. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
Dense hive signatures in a facility up ahead.